Very good afternoon to all of you. One of the more difficult sessions, I would say, especially post lunch. But just so that you are aware, and we're talking about IoT security, right? Each of the tables and the chairs have got smart devices installed. So we'll get to know who's not listening and who's sleeping. Well, that's on the lighter side, right? Once again, very good afternoon to all of you, and extremely happy to be here, and very warm welcome to all my fellow panelists. Thank you so much that we are here. Now, we are speaking on a very interesting topic of IoT and how does cybersecurity become both the front and the center, right? We are living in a smart world. We are living in a world of connected devices. I mean, right from early in the morning when you get up, you have the capability where just sitting in your bed, you could ensure that your coffee maker or your geyser is switched on. While you are getting out of bed, you could have your Alexa or your Siri or your Google Home enabling your air conditioners and giving you what the reminders are for the day, right? So, and then once you get ready, you're out of the house, you have switched on the cameras in the house so that you know that while you're away, your kids and your family members are safe. You can have a look at them, right? You get into your car, you've got connected vehicles these days. At each juncture, you exactly know what's happening with the vehicle. And obviously, you exactly know that in case if something is going wrong, there's someone who's there who could reach out to you, right? So it's what used to be a world of fantasy now is something which we are living in reality, right? I mean, long back, I think almost a decade ago, there was this movie, and I know it didn't do well, and I'm not sure if anyone would have seen. There was this movie called Tarzan the Wonder Car, where apparently they had shown that the car maker's soul comes in and drives the car and kills people. But at the end of the day, it's a classic case of a connected vehicle on which someone has taken control of the vehicle, right? So while the possibilities are humongous, obviously the threats and the risks which come with it are also very huge. Because for every 100 minds who are there who are using it for the benefit of mankind, there are others who are also wanting to see what they could derive out of it, right? And if you look at it from an overall landscape perspective, IoT has different layers, right from the device which gets connected to the interface from where it's connecting to the end platform where it's getting connected and the backend servers or the clouds where it's connected, or even the connect. I mean, it could be connecting through the Wi-Fi or through the telecom layer. I mean, the attack surface is so huge, you don't really know what happens, right? So this is what we would be trying to decipher. It's a huge subject, but let's try and throw some light. So, I mean, if Pawan, if I were to come to you, right? You are in the insurance field and you've been in the security field for a very long time. What are your thoughts in terms of IoT and in terms of security? Why and how is it important?
Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks for setting the context and giving me an opportunity to speak on this subject. It is a very prevalent subject today because we are living in a world where we are connected in one way or the other, and today we are using multiple devices. The IoT industry itself today stands at 15.6 billion, and there are by 2025, 30.5 billion devices are going to be connected over the internet or in some of the other way form. With us, because today if you look at it, even we are using multiple devices. We are using Bluetooth headsets, we are using Bluetooth, we are using iPads which is connected to internet, and there are multiple home connections which you talked about. You mentioned about a movie. I always remember one movie which I saw in 2007 and I was zapped after I saw that movie, which was Die Hard 4. And today we are living in a world which is worse than what was shown at that point of time in 2007. IoT is not different from normal ICT infrastructure. If I talk about the connectivity component is the only difference which is there. If you look at it, There is a switch, there is a sensor. IoT only works in these two concepts. So switch collects the information and sensor transfers the information. That is the only concept which lies. Instead of wire, we have different means like NFC, Bluetooth, and connected devices over the internet which transfer the information. The controls, the threads which are there in the ICT infrastructure, which is the wired network, is still prevalent in the IoT devices as well. Now, looking at few of the examples where we see in 2017 St. Jude hack, which what happened. So the the pacemaker, which they create pacemakers. The first it was identified in 2016 that it can be hacked. Now now think of this particular thing, that if somebody's pacemaker get hacked and the heartbeat can be controlled using by a hacker, the person would have been died because of the heartbeat. The other example is, we saw it again in 2017, was TreadNet, where the home cameras were hacked and people were able to listen to what you were talking about at home, and they were able to talk to you back as well. And this had happened in 2017. Then again, while the connected devices or cars were getting created, though it was called one of the incident by Jeep, but Jeep was also hacked at that point of time. So these are the few examples which are there. And another example, we have a big list, but I'm only talking about few big hacks which could have impacted the human life as well. So it is not only the ICT infrastructure we are talking about. With IoT devices, what is more prominent is the human life, which is at threat as well. And that need to be controlled. Like I talked about, threat is not different from the ICT infrastructure. It is the same. The controls which we apply in our ICT infrastructure, which is the wired network, still need to be prominent. We still need to be cognizant of the fact that we have to patch the devices as and when the new version of the software comes in, as and when the new vulnerability is explored. You have to take action. The password has to be changed all the time. And these are the few controls which needs to be taken care at that moment itself, as and when it is identified.
Right, absolutely. I think you've said it rightly, that the controls have to be similar to the ICT infrastructure. Right now, if I were to come to you, I mean, you are part of Acronis, right? In terms of the infrastructure that you would provide, and now with IoT coming into play, how easy or difficult does it become now to enable the controls around security for these IoT devices?
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav. It's a very interesting topic, and it's a very vast topic, to be honest. And there are two dimensions to it. One is that as a technology provider, we are there to provide a technology, okay? And as a marketeer, we want information, we want data. And how data we want? We want as closest to the human beings, okay? Whatever we are doing, the human beings, whatever we are doing in daily life, we want the data from that each steps and each aspect of their life, okay? So we really can't control or secure all the aspects. Yes, there is a race between the technology and the threat, and it will go on. It will go on. Who will win the race? Of course, the technology has to win the race, but has to be a collaborative and balanced approach towards it. Saying so, as a technology provider, it's a huge challenge because we are getting so many requirements, I would say, or the demands from the customers that they want to have a security around the scattered environment. Post-pandemic, the workforce has scattered. It's divided into the regions, geos, and there is no a real sense control of an IT guy, what the individual does at a remote place, to be honest. Though we have all the security policies, infrastructure in place, but it's very difficult to do that. Yes, as a technology provider, we are closing and providing the solutions toward it, and we are almost there. But every day, to be honest, there are new threats, new use cases, and new logics being applied by the IT infrastructure or the CTOs of the organizations, as well as the actual users. Because when we are providing the security, okay, when we are restricting him to use his own device, there are different challenges. Okay, so it's a very difficult scenario out there, but it's very interesting. And we have solution as a technology provider from the perspective of the EDR or the DLPs and email securities, to control that. Thanks.
Thanks, Nikhil. Now, Suhas, in your experience, how has the world changed post IoT coming in?
Yeah. So, Gaurav, there are couple of things has been changed in last few decades. One definitely part is human lives has been occupied by many connected devices. Entire industry is moving on automation part. So, if you consider for the human lives or day-to-day lives, a few things on like your healthcare devices. Then second part is most of the automotive things which we are using, like home automation part. There are a couple of things which we are using smart devices for our office works. Then in industry, it is widely used for most of the difficult tasks. And that is, I would say, most of the big success in recent era has happened. One example is like, say, where normal people can't work in, say, 200 degrees Celsius kind of heating environment in metal industry or in automotive industry, where we need to automate processes using robots part. That is one example. And recently, there are few cases which we have seen is robots has been deployed in medical industry also. There are a couple of examples where robots has performed major surgeries. That is one major achievement, I would say. And another thing is when we are seeing BFSI sector. In BFSI, we are seeing couple of robots or smart devices are playing important role. In India, there is Lakshmi, there is Ira. These are the two robots which are widely used for customer care services. These are the few examples I would say helping us in industry as well as normal day-to-day life, where we are seeing lot of help or lot of automation is having. And another part is like when we are seeing normal day in our life, say from like say Pawan also said same thing, like from starting our day to ending our day, most of the time we are using connected devices, and there are very less things which we are not using with connected devices. You say handheld devices, your home automations, that everything, your connected vehicles also. That is another very, very important aspect. And many luxury cars used to have telemedia. Now it is kind of infotainment systems are available in low-end cars also. That is one of the major part on the connected devices side. So I would say it has acquired most of the industries now. Gaurav.
Right. Thanks, Suhas. Now, I mean, as you were rightly mentioning that everything's connected, and obviously because of this extended attack surface, then you never know what's going to happen. And actually, referring back to the previous session, which talked about zero trust, right? It actually brings us to that whole concept of zero trust, and then extending that further, Khushbu, I mean, from the perspective, see, we are all technology people. We talk about technology, we talk about security, but from your angle, being a lawyer and being in this field, how have you seen that the world has changed, and how have the regulations also changed in this regards? When it comes to the whole aspect of IoT security, who can you trust, who can you pinpoint to?
Thank you so much. See, much has already been said about IoT and how it has impacted our life, day-to-day life. But if I would say yes, I would agree that we are living in the era which we would have never imagined about. This is the future we thought might come, maybe 30 years later. We never imagined or envisaged that this would be our present, especially when I talk about technology and in terms of how technology has entered into our everyday life. If I just point out right from healthcare to infrastructure to your lifestyle, to education, to industry, I think there's nothing that IoT has not transformed or changed, and it is going to continue. With the kind of number which Pawan was talking about, I mean, one can imagine that how this entire field is going to change, and what we see today would I mean, it would be very near future that we would transform this entire way of communicating, talking, and living. With that comes the difficulty. We have seen in the healthcare, I mean, if I just quote one example of the healthcare, so healthcare became very good. You can, you can take advice sitting in one city to another country altogether. You can share your pulses, your pulse rate, everything can be done and proper advisory can be done. Now you talk about other kind of systems which have come in place that you can practically, do, take care of, the cardiac part of it. I mean, any example if I give you. So yes, it has become it's becoming easy for us. It's creating our life easy in terms of healthcare. But I think if all of us pick up healthcare, is 83% hit is there in the healthcare when you talk about cyber attacks. The security is vulnerable over there. And if I talk about healthcare, why am I picking up healthcare? Because that's something very crucial. We can talk about lifestyle, we can talk about all other things, but healthcare specifically, imagine if that kind of an access one has with technology, with the advent of technology, or this kind of loopholes exist, what vulnerable situation you would be. So if I relate with crime, practically, if I give you an example, it's so easy to commit a crime if you have access to a technology, a loophole into it, and you enter, commit a crime, maybe sitting in Brazil, do it in India, and you're scot-free. Talk about evidence. We are practically focusing on technology and how you should be best, but we are not there when we talk about process, when we talk about security by design, when you talk about evidence collection and how we would, practically connect all these dots and come to a reality over there. So I think, yes, it's very good that the way we are going, but much has to be done. And today is the state where we don't have a proper holistic regulation in place. We don't have guidelines in place. We are still following up with NIST guidelines and others, but there is no dedicated guideline yet, which industry, especially IoT industry, which has to follow. So I see a good thing, but at the same time, I see that we cannot just close our eyes towards the challenges that we are facing and towards the future that would come up looking into this, especially looking into the ranger aspect.
Gaurav, I just would like to add here to what Khushbu has said. I would like to add two more examples here. Since we talked about the impact, and I would like to give an insight that please do not think that IoT is new and the impact is yet to come. If I give you examples of 2017 and one example of 2015, people who have been in the security domain must know about Mirai botnet attack, so which is also called the Dyna attack. It was initiated using the IoT devices only. The default passwords, username and password was used in that, and most of the major service providers were impacted because of that. So that is one example. Second, in 2017, one of the casino was hacked through the temperature monitoring device which was installed in the fish aquarium. You must have heard about that as well. So please imagine that the thermometer which was installed just to monitor the temperature could have been as vulnerable, or so nobody have thought that it would have been as vulnerable that it could impact or bring the casino down. And during that attack, around 10 GB of data was stolen during the attack before the darknet came to know about it. And this is what we are talking about today. 10 GB might seem too less, but it was the high-profile casino users' data which was stolen at that point of time. And at that point of time, it was valued at around 350 million. In 2017, we are talking about it. So these are the two examples which I wanted to call it out to put an emphasis on the impact of IoT devices if they get compromised.
Sure. Thanks, Pawan. And if you could just stay on, right? Now, being the CISO for a large life insurance company, what are the challenges? Now, since we've talked about all the attacks which have happened, in the life of a CISO, what are the challenges and how do you circumvent these attacks?
There is no differentiation between challenges, Gaurav. Like I talked about, the challenges which are there in the ICT infrastructure still applies to the IoT devices as well. Though the regulation is not there, as Khushbu has talked about, we do not have a regulation and there is no monitoring which is happening today. Today in India, we don't issue life insurance basis the IoT devices because there is no data practically available to do an analysis or something like that. And it's not that we do not want to do it, we would like to do it, but there has to be enough data available to bring to that analysis, and we need to have consumers as well to do such kind of an analysis. So that kind of awareness is not there. So once the awareness comes in, definitely with regulation and other things, things will start falling in place, and we may see that doctors will consult using your smart devices. They look at the parameters of your smart devices and then probably give you certain, guide you what you should do next today. And today we see there are many health insurance companies which look at your parameters. They give you smart scales to weight you out. They look at your BMI and suggest you what kind of diet you should have. And there are many examples which are there. So slowly and gradually things are falling into the place, and things are coming. But the important thing to note is they are as serious as it could have been, because what if they get hacked? Your personal data is getting breached. And because there is no regulation, I believe there will be no impact on them. And there is a way out today. That's where we are living in today. The vulnerability, if I talk about it, it is the same. The IoT devices can still be impacted by a malware. They can still be impacted by a botnet. There will still be software vulnerabilities. There will still be unpatched devices. There will still be password issues as it relies in the normal ICT infrastructure.
Absolutely. In fact, beyond these levels, we also have the physical device. I mean, worst scenario, I might actually just catch hold of the physical sensor and try to physically break into the device. So, Suhas and Nikhil, and probably Suhas, you could go first. What are some of those challenges from an IoT security perspective which you have come across from your experiences in the past?
Yeah. So Gaurav, when we are saying IoT ecosystem, so first part comes on the devices side. So who are the device manufacturers, or what type of devices? So there are certain challenges in terms of how we are storing data on the devices side, whether it is encrypted, how it is stored, what are the cryptographic controls it has applied. Second part, how these devices are connected to aggregators or say gateways. Say I have say one payment device, or I have say telematics device. And these devices, how I'm connecting to backend server. Are there any aggregators, are there any gateways? And whether I'm processing that data on the cloud, or what type of data storage is there. So data in rest, data in transit, and how I'm processing it on cloud environment. That is one part. Another piece is which we are saying, while I am deploying many devices in the industry or for the normal retail use, at that time millions of devices are getting connected on single platform. And if any one of us, if we are trying to add any Rogu system or any Rogu device, entire platform can be affected. At that time, it should detect which is an authenticated device coming to my environment. And there are several scenarios which we have seen in past where Rogu devices impacted entire environment. Millions of devices got compromised because ransomware, malwares were ported through these Rogu devices. That is the one risk I would say from the devices side. Second, there are API abuse on devices also. So there are multiple examples where APIs has been flooded. So there are API abuse on the multiple device layers and sensitive data was stolen. Another very, very sensitive part is like how we are storing this device and distributing while we are doing any device onboarding or offboarding in any IoT system. And this is applicable for industrial IoT also, or OT devices also, how we are doing devices onboarding, offboarding. So couple of challenges at device size, couple of challenges on aggregator side. If we have IoT or OT platform installed, how these platforms has been configured securely. So there are multiple IoT security platforms, there are multiple IoT platforms also. Those are connecting, onboarding, and managing the devices. So how securely it has implemented, how well it has been managed. So IoT platform, IoT devices, and I would say communication channels. From the ecosystem wise, these are the few things. But data security is always major concern at device as well as communication channel at platform level. So data needs to be encrypted at each layer, Gaurav.
Right. Nikhil, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, almost majorly covered by Suhas, but and rightly mentioned, there is no standard process and standard communication protocol between all these devices, and that's a huge challenge for a system integrator or a technology provider like us, because there are so many new devices coming up, so many new use cases are coming up in the market today, and then it becomes very difficult to understand and put the thoughts across and take the technology or the solution across to the end customer. But one thing is that address this thing, being a technology provider, we are having a three pillars, okay, in our approach. One is that you first observe in what environment that particular IoT device is, okay. Second is then you assess how deep you want to have the security around it. I mean, what are the various input areas of that particular device which can, get attacked or targeted by the bad actors in the market. And then post that, then you form your strategy around it. Because as Suhas mentioned, there are new devices coming up every day. I mean, and you accept it or don't accept, we are into it. It's a one-way ticket. We are not going to go back. There is no return ticket. So you are going to see more and more devices. Why? Because as a marketer, you want more data, as I mentioned earlier, and you want to get that data. But with that data, to improve the human life, there is also a threat of, getting not secure around of that data. So saying so, so the three pillars of, observe, assess, and then you have your strategy around it will definitely make sense. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks, Nikhil, on that. And you actually touched upon a very interesting point. And I think Khushbu, when we were just talking to Khushbu, he mentioned about no standard communication protocol, right? If I were to extend that and even go into the regulatory space, how do you think this is a challenge for us in the country?
See, if you talk about, so we do have, if you talk about data protection, we are having a bill in place and it's pending recommendations from key stakeholders or all the stakeholders in the industry. But if you talk about specifically when we talk about IoT and security, see, we don't have any standards in place. So we do follow NIST guidelines. I think everybody picks up and goes over there. But we do need industry-specific, IoT-specific guideline or a standardization which one has to follow and implement by law. It shouldn't be voluntary. It shouldn't be that somebody picks it up, somebody doesn't. Because even if you get best of the best CISOs and security in your organization, if one device is vulnerable or is unsecure or there is a vulnerability there and it's not yet been detected or patched, you are at the state that nothing works. Similarly, like business email compromise, best of the best security and you're gone away with. So in that regard, I would say that we need to have some standards dedicated to IoT specific. The other, I would say that, see, in this entire chain, I was talking about the 4 points which you have to connect those dots. If you don't connect that dot, if I'll give you one small example, let's pick up just lifestyle. Let's not even go to the best of the industry products. Let's pick it lifestyle, and if I give you an example, in a house, let's say you buy best of the IoT devices in your grandparents' house to make things secure. You can watch those things and things can be done. One system which is compromised, let's say your camera and your listening device, if that's compromised by an hacker or by some rogue personality, and then they start committing crime, your systems are not, your systems are not there, you're not able to connect, and all you get is a call that, I am here and this thing is happening. And when they start speaking, they'll tell you, I can see the red color wall, and I can see this, I can see the blue color phone, and they give you all more details about, I know what your mother eats, and they give you more details, which makes you believe that by no imagination, the person is not sitting there and my grandparents are not in danger. One, let's talk about now industry side of it. When I talk about industry, I'm not talking about consumer product like an IoT product which I am buying it, but I'm talking about an organization who picks up 20 products, IoT products, and keeps it. Now, if you don't make it clear that those systems are secure and you don't have process-driven thing, one device which has been vulnerable or something happens, for me as a user, for me it's you. It's not those 10 IoT devices which you have got in your place. So for me, the face is you. I will come and ask for solution or sue you if I have to say. My contract is with you. For me, the face is you. I will come to you. For you, for industry, it would be very beneficial, or it would be very important that how they keep their side, that what kind of security has to be kept placed. One, insurance, you were talking about that, what insurance have to be kept placed, because when I am having you are having a liability on me, you have to shift that liability over there. Even if you shift, let's say your contracts are in place that you're able to first detect that which system has resulted into this kind of a mishap. And the second, that even if you result into it, now, how do you shift that liability? When you shift the liability, maybe the person is not even capable. There is where your cyber insurance come in place. So there's a lot which has to be done in this area, and I think we have to act fast.
Absolutely. We definitely have to act fast, and yes, there's a lot to be done. And in fact, that kind of brings us towards the end. It's such a huge topic that we can probably spend the day conversing about it. So thank you, participants, and it was really great discussion.